Joining us now to discuss the groundbreaking decision is criminal defense attorney Laura Sheppard. Laura, thank you for being with us tonight.
You're welcome.
And the purpose of today's hearing, we all know, to determine if Erik poses a risk to public safety. He was denied parole. I know you've read the 33 pages. What factors do you think went into that decision?
Well, the decision was made by two commissioners. The presiding commissioner of the hearing is very familiar to me, Commissioner Barton. He's handled some other high-profile cases. From what I read, they considered Erik and Lyle's criminal history before the murders. They considered their prison record. There were a fair number of rule violations in Erik and Lyle's history. The panel noted that, you know, he said you weren't really model prisoners, even though your supporters describe you that way. However, he certainly left room for them to be granted in the future. You know, it was a sense of you need to make sure you really are coming to terms with the mistakes you've made in prison, set aside any hypocrisy, any minimizing. I would say that Erik Menendez will be released at some point in the near future, just not as a result of this hearing.
Erik's counsel objected to the clinical diagnoses and the conclusions that were submitted to the board. As a defense attorney, aren't those reports very difficult to overcome?
Yeah, and there's no format in a parole hearing for the attorney to ask for them to be excluded, like you might see in a jury trial. But I'm sure Ms. Rummel's effort was to kind of diminish the evidentiary weight of those evaluations. If she could, you know, convince the panel that the psychologist's diagnosis was perhaps exaggerated or overstated. I haven't seen the report myself. But, you know, if she could convince them that they should view it that way, then it might have less of an impact on their ultimate decision. And, you know, reasonable minds can differ about these things, like psychological diagnoses and risk assessments.
Parole could have been extended 3 years to 15 years. They picked 3. What do you take of that?
That's a very good sign for Mr. Menendez and his supporters. That is the shortest length they can consider, and typically a 3-year denial is reconsidered in about a year with what's called an administrative review. And if Erik has continued to do well during that time, then there's a very good chance he'll be before the parole board again in about a year and a half from now.
Knowing what you know from today, what are your thoughts on Lyle Menendez tomorrow?
I don't have any insider information on whether Lyle is, you know, doing better or worse than Erik, and whether he will present himself better or worse than Erik. However, you know, they've lived a lot of their life together, and their crime was together. So I figured that today's result would be a preview of what we're likely to see tomorrow.
And all eyes will be on tomorrow. Laura Sheppard, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for your expertise on this.
You're very welcome, Kimberly.